Hello and welcome.
Hello.
What's going on?
Hey, everybody. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to act like Ruben's not here for a minute and just talk to you guys. I have a secret. I think Ruben's pretty cool, but don't tell him that. Hi, Zach. Happy Friday. Good to see you. Serge, happy Friday. Thank goodness
Serge,
it's
where you
Friday.
at?
He's usually in Chicago, right?
Yeah, but he fluctuates too. Zach is in Elk Grove.
Okay.
I know that. Yeah.
We're going to need age, sex, location from everyone.
Yes,
Remember
exactly.
that from AOL? That was like the chat room entry, like, so age, sex, location.
Yeah,
Let me make
where is
sure you're not
everybody
a
at?
creepy creeper, but really anyone can lie about those things. So anyway,
Especially now.
Ruben, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, and we would like to welcome everybody out here tonight. Tonight we have a well, I should say fellow podcaster, but for you, fellow podcaster and human or wonderful human, Chris Jensen tonight. And I'm excited to have him because he's a long time. Actually, I think he was here from the very beginning. Um,
I think so. Yeah.
So it's nice to have him on board and talk to him about his podcast and his life and his week of watching cats. Right?
That sounds like a novel. The Week of
Yeah.
Watching Cats. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. Yeah. Say hi if you're here. Hi, Karen.
Ruben is pretty
Ruben is
cool.
pretty cool. I'm getting some
Finally.
some concurrence here.
Yeah. And then we have Alvaro with Bach.
Bak? Is that like bak bak
Yeah.
chicken? Oh, I get it 'cause I'm a
Hello
chicken.
there. Yeah.
Ah ha ha ha.
So yes. And so how you doing? How you doing on this fabulous September? It's the month of September with everything
Yeah.
changes and all this.
It's almost the end of September,
Yes.
which is strange. I'm doing well. Yeah. I decided to try and go on an adventure today because the air was good and the weather was nice. So I packed up my toddler and I was like, we're going to go for a hike, just me and you. And it ended up really bad. Like, not really bad. She just like screamed and then she had to get out of the pack. And then I let her out of the pack and then she wanted to go off the trail and there's rattlesnakes. So I tried to get her back on the trail and then she's screaming, and I was just like, "Oh my god! Thank goodness there's not that many people here because we were in like a nature preserve area. We were
Yeah.
at the Nature Center. Have you ever been there?
Yeah. Lots of rattlesnakes. My favorite thing.
It's,
There's a cave in there you can go in there and sleep with rattlesnakes. So
ooh,
they don't. Well, yeah, it's pretty cool.
they don't
So
bite. They're all like
no, just be
bewitched.
careful. Yes, yes. No, that's a cool little place to go to.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was cool. It was still nice to get out of the house. My arms are sore from carrying my child screaming though. But what about you? How was your week?
my week's good. Yeah, my week's good. Had a lot of different things going on. I start reading or not reading. I always say read. I never read. I listen to an audiobook, which is making friends with my anxiety and using some techniques. I was going to text you the technique I was using, but it was uh, too long to explain. But it has to
Mm,
do, I'm really trying to. It's a really cool book, and she's really a good author. And I think because I heard her one time on a podcast, but she was always giggling, and I go, you know what? That's the kind of person I want to. I want to know about. I want to, she's been doing it for like almost 50 years. So, but her way that she explained things and her emotional language is pretty cool. So she makes
yeah.
up. So she, like for instance, I am a little anxious, but I'm always doing something, and it's explained that anxiety is also a tool. It's always going to be there, so you might as well be friends and let it. So now I'll wake up. Okay, where do you want to go now? What's going to happen today? I'll write it. I'll write my notes down and what's going to what I plan on doing today, and it's worked really good for me. So it's nice. It's nice to do something like that and kind of get everything in kind of more of a structured way because I'm not a very
Mm,
structured person, and I found a way to take to make notes for myself that don't stress me out. So that's kind of where I'm
okay.
at. Yeah.
Is that sort of one of the techniques is
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like write stuff down
List,
when it's
list, yes. What kind of list maker are
mm,
you? Do
yeah.
you need list? Because what she was saying is that when you make a list, regardless of if it's detailed or not detailed, that your anxiety will know that you're helping out. You're on it. So you're
Mm,
not, and it is true because I in my head I have all these ideas and I don't write them down, then they're still in there like running around. So now it's pretty cool
mm,
the way I do it this way. So I am happy
yeah,
with that. Yes.
that's
But
awesome.
yeah, so that's something I've been doing lately, which I think it's nice, nice. A couple other little meditative techniques that I've noticed that three people have, well, three different techniques I've used with this compassion abiding, but it's also another one, which is, we'll get in that later on. But yeah, that's
That's
kind of
awesome.
my thing right now. So
That sounds like an important thing.
yeah,
Just because, befriending and learning to live beside your anxiety is something that can enable you to do this and so many other things. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's funny because, like I said, anxiety, like it's an energy that's always going to be there for you, right? It's always going to be there no matter what, and that's how you get a lot of shit done because you're like anxious to get it done, and so you just got to find what works for you and understand that anxiety is not a bad thing necessarily. And once you get out of
Mm,
that, once you get that out of your category, that anxiety is bad, then you'll be able to work with it, right? Because it's really a tool too that you can use to get some stuff done and with your brain, or with your mind to rest too. So
yeah.
yeah. Oh, let me say hello. Hello, Kelly. How you doing? I've known
Hi,
Kelly for so
Kelly.
long, but I haven't seen her in probably about 30 years. So probably longer than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you guys,
So welcome.
Does Kelly live in Sacramento or
I
another?
I don't know. She just friended me on Facebook just now, so it was like 15 minutes ago. So
Oh my
hi,
gosh,
Kelly.
Kelly. Well, how
Yeah.
funny when we
Yeah.
reconnect with someone like that we haven't
Yeah.
seen the
Oh,
wonders of
years.
technology. Well, we would love to hear where you're living, the exact address. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, Serge is
We
up
don't
in
need that.
Washington. See, now he's
Oh,
in Washington D.C. Serge
so
is
what
everywhere.
does Serge travel for? Do you already know this, or does he need to answer this? Is
Let
it for
him.
work? Is it
I will let him
music?
answer for this. Yes.
We would love to hear why are you always moving around, you lucky ducky? The
Yeah.
chicken wants to know. That's cool.
And Karen, I could send you the book too, the name of the book too. Send you the podcast too, where she's at. But it's a really cool book. It's really nice. So I
Maybe can
really
you say
am
it for
happy.
other people in case anybody else wants to know the name, or do you not
Yeah,
want to?
I'll look it on my phone because I'll probably spell
Okay,
it wrong because of my dyslexia.
that's
So,
okay.
anyways, yeah. And Zach says cheers, and cheers
Hey,
to you too.
Zach.
Yeah,
We would
and we
love to hear if anybody feels like dropping what is your feeling of the night, if it's anxiety or if it's kind of giddiness or excitement over something, or like this is Feelings Friday after all.
yes,
So you don't have to explain it if you don't want to, but just drop a word or a sentence and tell us how you're feeling. That would be awesome.
and I will put that up in the comments too on that for you. Yes,
Awesome.
and today's topic we were going to pick was finding your voice and the little joys in these strange, wonderfully beautiful, strange times, right? And
Mm.
they keep getting stranger, so that's what Chris and I were talking about. So, um,
That's
yeah,
something we've
so
learned from this year. Just never assume we're at the weirdest, most
yeah,
strange
I'm
point.
like, yeah. So,
We're not.
um, yeah, so so anybody out there, please feel free to ask questions and actually, leave your comment of what's your beautiful little finds and joy to make sure this time a little bit more palatable, right? And more
Yeah.
enjoyable. So,
Or if there's anything, I mean, we'll get into this, so the topic might become more clear, but if there's anything that has helped you to find your voice, because especially if you're new to our show, we thrive on interaction. We don't do it just to talk to each other, even though we love each other.
yeah.
It's really to be here for you guys and interact with all of you. It's kind of like our excuse to sort of maybe kind of have social interaction. And hopefully you all get to do that too with us. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Karen says we can't wait to decorate for
Ooh.
Halloween tomorrow. Perfect.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited for you. We
Yeah,
already
so
decorated at my house because I was feeling very depressed and I knew that would make me feel better. So we went big just a couple days ago. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, right on. So we have Chris today, and like I said, Chris has been a long time. Is it listener or watcher at this point? Watcher?
I think watcher. I think watcher.
Like, yeah, voyeur style or just watcher? No.
Wait, you don't want to say the word that rhymes with jeeper.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's we'll let Chris do that for you.
I'll let Chris describe
Anyways,
himself.
so we're gonna play a song. Come back. Cali Cocktail Hour. Get your cocktail. Melissa has water. I have Sing Tao, which I'm going for the different kind of beer tonight.
Nice.
So makes me more sensitive, and that's how I feel.
I'm loving
So
the hair, by the way. I forgot to mention that.
oh yeah, yeah. It's coming out great. I knew that's
Oh,
how
it's
I'm finding
cool.
my voice. It's a different kind of voice, more of a blonde voice. So
The hair
going back to
definitely
my
helps you find your
yeah.
voice.
See, look at that.
Oh my
Nice.
gosh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I combed her today. Her name was Mary, but
And then when she got combed, she changed completely.
Well, Melissa doesn't like me to call her Mary, so my Melissa. She's like, I
Why?
couldn't. I don't know. She's. So I
Like
had to
it's
get her a new
another
name.
woman in your treasure
Well,
chest.
perhaps I turn into another woman. That's why.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, yeah.
I am my wigs. So
I can see that being like a transporter of sorts, like kind of like
yes,
the chicken transports me. It's like when I'm wearing this hat,
yeah,
I'm
right.
not just a regular person. I'm a cool, but if I take it off, I'm just like, so
Yeah.
I feel you.
Who am I?
Who am
Well,
I?
well, let's go to the song. Everybody, we're gonna go to a song. This song is "Heaven Till Dawn," and it is ILO featuring Robin Oman. So we're gonna go come, and we'd like to transport you to a new place, a dance place. So let's do this. Somewhere we can really get down to the groove in pro-COVID days. I think this is Melissa dancing. Sorry.
Okay, I was just giggling at this dancing.
I know, it's
Awesome.
perfect. Hello, Scott and Bella. I think that's how I would see you dancing, Melissa. Right there.
It's like my one move. You can see this guy has just like, wait, I can't stay on beat. Oh my god. Must be the chicken hat. What if we found out this was actually Chris dancing like years ago and he was like, hey guys, that's me under the makeup.
It is.
Do you think this is just the same clip over and over, or they did this for the whole song?
Well, they did it for the whole song.
I love how you just like so sure of that. Like, oh, of course they did it for the whole song. Of course.
And we are coming back.
I just realized something. Can you hear the music on my end? Can I hear the music?
Yeah, you
Is
should.
it still playing? Okay. I thought I had it open on a screen I wasn't supposed to. I just X'd out of all my, because I try and watch the comments, but I just got confused. Okay.
We're gonna read Chris real quick. You want to read Serge's?
Serge said, digital nomad thanks to La Ronda. I acknowledge my virtual privilege, y'all. Non-essential post-secondary administrator with no dependents, just a houseplant. That's a dependent, Serge. I hope you're taking care of that plant and
Yeah,
it's coming with
houseplants have
you.
feelings too,
Yeah,
right?
husbands need love.
And he also
That's cool.
loves Heaven Till Dawn. Yes.
Heaven till
So
dawn.
I curate these songs. I have to go. It takes me a long time to go in there and find these songs that are, deep in the digital
Vowels.
vinyl vault.
You know,
So
there's a word for that. I remember taking this weird pop culture class, and there was a word for people like yourself that would dig through.
vinyl diggers.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah,
like
vinyl
some.
diggers.
Sure, that
I'm
sounds
trying to give you.
technically correct.
Yeah,
You're like, come on, Melissa, it's
yeah,
vinyl diggers.
yeah. People to go look for vinyl diggers. Um, and let's bring up our guest who was beautiful dancing back in the day.
Yes, Chris, we're so
Yeah,
impressed
Chris.
with your performance.
Chris. I hope
Hey,
you. I hope you don't get mad that I played your dance clip.
well, you gave it all away. I thought the makeup was going to hide the fact that I was such an incredible dancer with all these great moves.
Yeah,
I
I
could
think.
spot those eyes a mile away.
Yeah, I
You,
think it was only one move actually, but you did
hey,
good. Yeah,
that's hard to do.
yeah.
For
So
3 minutes straight, it really is.
So,
We're
hello.
so happy to
I just
have
want to
you.
say hi to Ruben and Robert. It's great to be with you guys tonight.
That's me. I'm Robert.
that's
Uh,
right.
Guys.
It's an
Change your
inside
names.
joke from earlier.
From 10 minutes
I had
ago,
to
you
say
asked
it
me
once,
to
at least
call me.
once.
What have I done? Well, thank you for honoring what I would like to be called. I guess we'll stick with the funky chicken, but we're so happy to have you. It kind of
Funky
feels
chicken. Okay.
like such an honor to have one of our regular, like it's so nice to have people that come and interact with the show every week and bring not just like a hello, but you'll bring like commentary and thought. So it's cool to actually get to talk to you live and get to do that sort of in real life, even if we're not actually in person.
Yeah. And I'm, just to put it out there, give voice to my feelings, I'm nervous.
Okay,
We
yeah.
want you
I
to be.
respect what you guys do so much that I don't
Mm.
want to. I don't know. There's a
Uh-oh,
part of me that just wants to do it right. You know what I mean?
Chris, I smell
Oh,
virtual blood in the water, and I'm a shark. So
I thought
I'm
you were a
coming after you.
raven.
I'm
I think
not.
Ruben
I
just got
changed.
really weird.
You're a feathered shark. That's a whole
It's
new.
actually the wig. It's
Oh,
the wig.
okay.
Sorry.
He's
When I
a
had it,
he's
when
a
I had
shark
him,
in wolf. Wait, he's a shark in raven clothes. What?
it's a crow.
I've
So
heard of
wait,
Ravens are
that.
cool.
let's
It's a,
let's honor that for a second though, because I am so impressed always when people are just very open about like whether it's in person or in our show about like, hey, I feel kind of awkward because to me that takes a lot of the power out of it. And however
exactly.
you feel now, it's like I just want to remind you something your brain knows, but just remind you there is no right way the show goes ever. You know
Yeah.
that. But I'm
Yeah. Look at any of the recordings and you'll know that. That's true.
yeah, it's like all over the place and we're all over the place
Yeah.
and my brain will say that to me too. Like there's a right way, make sure you say the right thing. Like when I've come really low energy and I'll be like, people don't want to see that. When really who am I to say what people want to see or not? Right?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. You don't know.
yeah.
So how are you,
And
Chris? Besides being nervous.
Besides being nervous, I'm actually doing well. I wanted to make a comment about anxiety because I get that way too. But one of the things that I was taught early on is to reframe it and give it a new name, and so I call it excitement. Because if you look at you take the word away and just look at the feeling about it, around it, excitement and anxiety are very, very similar, and it changes my way of expressing it and looking at it so that I don't, the fear element or,
Yeah.
doesn't come
And
to
I
play.
think that's what the thing is like renaming the change, right? Changing the name and, because anxiety does make you anxious just saying it, right?
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
Ruben,
So,
Ruben has, oh, your plant is gone. You had a house plant behind you. What's interesting, Chris, about that is that I feel like the difference between, at least if I could name it in this moment, between excitement and anxiety, which they are very similar. We talk about this in coaching work a lot, that they're sort of like sides of the same emotion. But I think excitement often comes when you're not putting that there's one right way to do this on your shoulders. Anxiety is for me more there's a right way, I better find it because if I don't, I'm going to screw it up. Kind of like Karen said she's decorating for Halloween. She's not anxious about it, I'm guessing, because it's like there's no right way to decorate your house. Just do it however you want. But maybe if she was decorating like for some competition and the judges might want it to look one way, then she could have that anxiety. Either way, I like that tactic. I think that really it's like what works for your brain. And if reframing is helpful, that's awesome.
And, I think that's a lot of the exploration. It has been for me. One was learning that not everybody's like me. And that was a major awakening at one point. Because all I knew was mean. So I sort of assumed that everybody thought the way I thought, that my brain worked the way everybody else's brain worked. And then I discovered that's not the case. But we need to find what works for us. And so I always encourage people to explore different things in order to find what it is that works.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting that you say one of your awakenings was finding that not everyone thinks like you. I think that that's a really big one. And it kind of goes back to the 4 agreements, because when we talked about not taking anything personally, part of that is realizing even if we all thought exactly the same, it's not about me, but we're all in our own dream. We're all in our own world. So having that realization, I imagine, was a really big for you.
It was, and it happened when I was studying astrology, and we got to the planet Mercury, which is the mind, and looking at Mercury through all the signs and through all the houses and the various aspects that it makes in a person's chart, and how actually unique we are in everything. Which that was not a concept that I had really spent a lot of time entertaining. So that was new. That was really new. So, yeah, it's helped me a lot over the years.
That's the key. That's the key. And it's kind of funny that you say that too, because I wrote an article for a website called Tiny Buddha years ago, 3.5 years ago. And it was called How to Be Open-Minded When Others See the World Differently. And it was after the election. It was in the midst of our like kind of current political climate, but it was all about that, how to realize that we can both read the same piece of information and you can hear it differently, because we there's like encoding, which is what I'm trying to say as I talk, and then there's decoding, which is what you're doing while you're listening. But I kind of bring this up because I read this, it was republished. I only found out because I started getting all these new subscribers and I was like, what's out there right now? And it turned out that they had re-released the article.
Oh wow.
And I read it and I felt kind of sad, because I realized that the person who wrote that, which was me, was far more open-minded than I am at this moment. I read it and I was like, wow, this sounds I was very earnest. I wasn't full of shit when I wrote those words, but I also hadn't been slowly boiling in the water of our culture for as long. And just this week, I've actually signed out of Facebook most days. I don't have it on my phone anymore. I'm like just detaching from media, because I've started to realize how it's been really hard for me to realize that you, random person on the internet that sees things differently than me, aren't a piece of shit just because you see things differently than me. It's gotten to this point, I think a lot of us can relate to, where the division is so real. So it was kind of a wake-up call from my former self to be like, hey, at one point you were far more understanding. And I have all these new subscribers that are like, wow, she's so understanding. And it's like, let me dig into that part of myself and remember how to be open-minded when other people see the world differently, because we all do.
You time traveled.
Yeah, totally. I did. Yeah. What are you doing over there, Ruben? I can see you hard at work.
Yeah, I'm in the back of the scenes right now, so sorry. I had to.
That's okay.
That's what I do.
Well,
I'm also the DJ / producer / booker, everything else. So, hola, Raul, ¿cómo estás? I'm also the greeter in Spanish.
Hey, Raul. Raul's been your guest before, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, he was the guest on the, he's the mezcalero, 5th generation mezcalero. He does Tres Tiempos mezcal that I drink a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah, with you and Carissa.
Yes.
And we have and Ruben, you and I have a standing date to drink mezcal when it's appropriate.
Yeah. Well, mezcal will kill COVID, so.
It'll probably kill me.
Just shoot it into your body, you'll be fine. Yeah. Or put
shoot
light
it
on
into your body, you'll be fine.
Okay.
The Ruben Ravelis story.
That's right.
You should send that to Dr. Fauci and tell him
so
he can let everybody know.
I think you heard that before already.
Yeah,
That's what,
yeah.
that's
Well,
what
in a
bleach.
different way, he did. Yes,
It was bleach. So,
it was
anyways,
bleach.
yeah.
Oh gosh,
So, but
there's
anyways,
so
Whatever.
many.
yeah, and we like to thank everyone for coming out. Like I said, people come and show up later in the time, and so thank you for coming. Tomorrow night I have a special show. Tomorrow night it will be on here, but it'll be on the Latino Center page. It's going to be a Dia de los Muertos show with Lila Rivera, John Huerta, Roberta Alvaro. I say her name wrong, and then me, of course. But we're going to do a roundtable of talking for Day of the Dead and through the eyes of an artist or artists. So come out
That
tomorrow
sounds
night here.
cool.
Yeah, we'll be here tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I'm just trying
It's
to
on the
help them.
Latino Center page, right?
And on this, I'm on this page too.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I'm gonna shoot them
Cool.
out. So, but yeah, so that's great. And like I said, like Melissa, we're glad to have you on here. It's been a while. Well, it's not been a while because you never been on
Every
here. But
week feels like a year, so it has been a while.
yeah, actually it does. So,
Doesn't
it's
it?
been a
It feels
very
like forever.
slow moving day. Yeah. So Chris has a podcast, right? And what is?
Mhm.
Oh, I know. What is the podcast name? Boom.
That's it.
Yeah.
My life and welcome to it.
When I was growing up, there was a TV show, and it was called, I think it was called My World. It was called My World and Welcome to It, and it was based on the life of a cartoonist writer named James Thurber, who wrote for the New Yorker magazine. He was also a cartoonist, and so this show, it was a comedy, and it would have cartoons based on his drawings. And when I started thinking about a podcast and what it would be about and what I would call it, that TV show came back to, I mean, it was a 60s show. It's old. And I'd forgotten all about it. But then I thought, My Life and Welcome to It, because that's what I wanted it to be about. If you were to listen to an early episode 1 probably is where I talk about, I've always wanted to tell my story and leave it for my children. And if they ever have children, I don't know that I ever will, but, and for the longest time, I thought about writing it. And I like writing, but I don't like writing for long periods of time. I get really bored, especially it's my life, and I bore myself sometimes. And so the idea of the podcast of simply talking was very, very appealing. And that's what inspired the whole thing. Yeah, and
I
I
love that
started
you
it
went
on
with
February 1 is when it started
of this year.
of this year, and I'm at like 1,200 listenings. Not
That's awesome.
people. I mean, I've only got 15 people. That's the most I've ever had, I think. But it's been listened to over 1,200 times.
That's actually really
So
great.
it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ruben, I think, or your episode was episode 28.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a bestseller. It was like people couldn't get enough of it. I remember like, hey, look, guys, I have a life, okay? I have.
I might have to
Stop
bring it back
talking about me.
as an encore.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to
So,
not have ego.
Yeah. How to?
But it transformed. It transformed. When I first started doing it, I thought it would be really fun at some point to, I'm a serious cheapskate, so I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I bought one microphone, right? But I thought down the road it'd be fun to buy another whole microphone and cable and headphones and everything, and have guests, and we'd be face to face. This was in February, right? January, February, and then March hit, and I started doing it, and then all of a sudden another thought came to me, was I would do a sub series, and I titled that "It's Not About Me, It's About Us," where I would invite the people I know, some of my friends, just to talk about our history and what's going on. For some of my friends, it was reconnecting for a long time. And I did a lot of those. I ended up doing, I think, 34 episodes for season 1. It's a lot of
That is
episodes.
incredible.
Yeah.
Do you edit your podcast very much?
I do. That's one of my joys, and I didn't know that I enjoyed it so much, as I like mixing and editing. So I would probably listen to a podcast, I don't know, 10 times. Just because I want to listen to how it flows. I want to listen to the dead air between, maybe I'm thinking of something to say, or there's someone, to edit out. And I just want to, and if I make a mistake, Sometimes I make my memory just doesn't pull up the fact properly. And so I have to correct it. And so I downloaded this little cowbell mooing sound that indicates I'm doing a correction.
Wait, does that play on your podcast, or is
It
it just for
does.
editing?
You'll hear it. You will hear
Oh.
it on the podcast. I'll be talking away, and then you hear this moo with a cowbell, and I'll correct myself. Yeah,
that's like the cow calling the Chris wrong. I'm trying to think of the right metaphor. I love that. I love it too that you figured out that you actually really enjoy editing in the midst of this creation, because if anything, that's what I figured out I don't enjoy, and that's been the bane of my podcast existence, because I'm still a little baby podcaster that doesn't have an editor. That has really limited me, and I can see how enjoying that part of it would make things a lot easier. So I'm so glad that you do. And have you found, I mean, it sounds like you started wanting to do it with this desire to tell your story. And what gift do you think that gives you and or your family? Like, why do you want to share your story? For what purpose?
A couple of things. Both my parents are deceased. And now that I'm 64, I'll be 65 in February, I've got questions that I cannot now have answered because they're not there to answer them. There's a lot of missing information in my growing up that I would like to know a bit more about. And I wanted to be able to share as much of my life as I felt was my life, and it didn't impinge on someone else's story, because I can't tell someone else's story. That's their story. And oftentimes my story and someone else's story will commingle, and I don't feel comfortable going there, unless of course that person has said, go for it. But I wanted to make sure that my kids had an opportunity to hear my story. My dad was very closed. He was a veteran of World War II in Korea, and probably needed some mental health care that he never received because PTSD was not a thing then. And he was an absent father in many ways. I mean, physically he was there, but he just wasn't there for me. I didn't learn a lot from him. Well, I did, but it wasn't all good. And so that motivated me, because I felt like I made a little paragraph. It's like one life out of billions. Who cares? Because I said, I'm just one life out of billions, and we all have these individual lives. So why would my life be important to tell? A, I'm the only one that can tell it. B, maybe I'll have an experience that will connect with someone else, and they can hear my story and maybe not feel so I'm the only one kind of a thing. And then I try to, I have a bad habit sometimes of moralizing the stories of my life lessons learned. Whether it's always the right lesson that I've learned from this experience, it's the lesson that I learned, and I'll share that. And it does. I'm surprised when I click on to the platform, the host where my podcast is, and I look at the number of people who have listened to a single episode. It blows my mind. There are people, and then you've got metrics. It's called analytics, right? I don't know if you guys look at analytics or not.
I love analytics.
But it tells me what country my podcast is being listened to. So I've got the US, right? I've got Ireland and Scotland and Pakistan and Australia, and there's like a half a dozen countries that this thing's going out to. And some of my episodes have been listened to almost 50 times. Wow. And it blows my mind. It just absolutely blows my mind.
Well, there's someone out there listening. Someone probably.
I know. Someone is so bored and can't sleep that they have to tune into my life.
5 out of a billion. That's good. Good. That's analytics right there.
It is. I don't know what the percentage is. It's minuscule, but who cares? I mean,
but yeah, that's what I'm saying. And the thing is, like, we did this show too because, even if there was one person that we could reach to, and that was the whole goal, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember listening to this story on NPR where they're talking about meeting one person that you go through your life, and you don't want to, because that one person may be the most important person you ever meet in your life. Just you got to be open to it. Like someone you're on a plane and you say hi to them, you have a conversation, and then it'll be one of the most important conversations you meet. So you don't know what
You
you're
don't
going to
know.
do, and you don't know who's going to be out there that needs it. Just needs to talk, or just needs to hear
Yeah.
part of, it may be a sentence that they hear from you,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think a lot of people out there, need something, and there's a lot of people that needs, like the topic of finding your voice.
Yeah.
It's
And
like
it's not
people.
about numbers, right? It's not
Yeah,
about
yeah.
numbers.
It's not
You
about
all know the
numbers.
starfish story, right? You know the starfish story.
I want you to tell it because I love it, but I do
Yeah,
know
it's
it.
one of my favorite stories to tell, and for me, it puts it all in perspective. So there's this. I'll say it's a guy. There's this guy. He's walking down the beach, and he sees off in the distance this little boy picking up these starfish that were on the beach and throwing them into the ocean. And there were thousands of starfish. And the guy walks up to the little kid and he says, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm saving these starfish. I'm throwing them into the sea. And he's like, there are thousands of starfish out here. You're not going to be able to make much of a difference. Kid picks up a starfish, throws it into the ocean, and said, I made a difference to that one.
Mm,
And that
I
puts this
love
all in
that
perspective.
story.
You make one, like you were saying, Ruben, if you can touch one person to make a difference, it's all worthwhile.
Yeah. So
I love
Ashley
that.
said,
Oh, Ashley, it's our guest last week. You never know who you might infect. Sorry.
sorry.
In
Went
fact,
that way
okay.
too. Actually, that's true. You never know who you might affect or inspire. Connection is so important. I completely agree. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been that like
Oh, I
one person
froze.
before.
Hang
Uh
on.
oh. Chris,
Chris is
come
gone.
back to us. Well, I want to keep talking, but obviously
Oh, keep talking, because
I'm just gonna keep going. So
yeah.
Oh,
so
you're
I
back.
remember I remember stumbling on this YouTube channel. I forgot what I was looking for, what I was looking up. And it was this guy who was probably around my age, and he was just telling the story of his divorce, like very honestly in these short videos, like very heartbroken, but just like, and I forgot how he even explained why he was making, I don't know if he explained why he was making the videos, but I saw that they had something like 5 views each. But I just became really like enveloped in the story in this way of like, I've never been divorced, but I have been heartbroken. And I know what, like, kind of that idea of, oh, I'm not alone. And he really matters to me, even though I've never met him. I didn't even follow his page. I just went down the rabbit hole of his videos one night. And so when we've been that person that's read a blog post or heard a podcast or just, like Ruben said, gotten a smile on an airplane, and you've known how much it changed your life, I think it is easier to realize, yeah, maybe this podcast, because I have my analytics for my podcast too, and sometimes they're not high. And it's like, well, who am I to say that high numbers equals the point? Like that lots of likes, or like, of course, from a business perspective, it's very easy to get into this frame of mind, like, oh, that's what you're supposed to get, Melissa. And also that kind of completely negates the fact that no, like I want to help people as well. And helping people doesn't 1,000 people always make, right? Like maybe you don't have a bazillion followers or listens, but yeah. So I think that's
And,
cool.
and there is always someone out there that needs help, right? There's always someone out there that just doesn't know how to get help. Sometimes they'll run across something or something. Some of the best times I've had, people have actually. Oh, we lost Chris. Well, Chris, perhaps he'll come back. Chris, come back on the.
Just like, nope, I can't do this with you guys anymore.
Well, anyway, well, I'm sure he'll be back. I think he'll have to reconnect. But finding people out there that need help, and like it's not like you're out there trying to find sometimes help, and someone being honest with yourself, and people will gravitate toward that. Or if you have a story of heartbreak, you have a story about someone passing away, at some point someone needs to hear something. That's why heartbreak stories or heartbreak songs are always so popular, because it doesn't matter. Someone's always breaking up with somebody, right? And so every
Yeah.
song that you hear that's popular on that is going to be like it's always going to be there, and that kind of suffering is always there for us, and that's part of our human existence too. So let's
Yeah.
go to a song, and I can see if I can get Chris back on here.
Okay.
But this one's going to be we're going to go to another dance tune, and I don't know if you ever heard of the cumbia. It is Mexican. Oh, Chris is back. Mexican
Oh, yes.
dancers. Okay, let me see if I can get him
Okay.
back here. Chris,
Hello.
He left
I
us
almost pushed the nuclear button, which is a dance button, but perfect.
Oh, and then I would have had to do
Yeah.
this
Oh,
close.
this one's different.
put
Yeah.
my
This
makeup
Your
on.
old moves. Yeah.
this one's different. You know what's pretty cool about this movement was that they took Columbia music, and they slowed it down on the
Oh,
turntables. It was
really?
pretty badass what they did.
It
Yeah.
is.
It's pretty. It's weird, but we'll see that later. It's almost like breakdancing, but it's cumbia, really slow down cumbia, and like really these weird dance moves, and they have some really like cholo hairstyles are pretty cool.
It's almost like breakdancing, but it's like a frog jumping on a lily pad.
It is. You're right. It is. So
It's like drinking coffee, only it's a house plant sitting on the counter.
yes, and that was our technical difficulties, folks. So everybody
So-
out there, we are going to go to a segment which we are bringing to forefront because
Kitties.
yes, it's yeah. So all of our lost cats out there, when I take a walk, I take a picture of lost cats. Not that I have an obsession with that, but I do have an art gallery full of lost cat posters. So you know,
Not
Melissa.
lost cats, but lost cat posters.
Posters, yes, perhaps I. But anyways, these are real and these are active. So if you are out there, I'll let Melissa explain where she's at in the area for her cat. We'll be on the
Okay,
left.
so on the left, or at least it's on my left, this is in Tahoe Park, and it says it's a black cat. I think she had a blue collar on. Missing my cat, Palsy. Palsy's from Tahoe Park. She's wearing a flea collar, but unfortunately no identification. Please text the last seen location to my husband, and then there's the number, 916-521-6806. Thank you so much for your time. This one spoke to me because the poster was just written in this kind of personal way. Like it almost struck me as someone who'd never had to write a lost cat poster. And I could just I always just feel so strongly when I see these. So if you're in Tahoe Park or East Sac, watch for Palsy, blue flea collar. And then on the right side, missing from C Street, Largo Marcino and C Street. Ruben, is that near where you are?
It's
like
in East
34?
Sacramento. Yeah.
So it's near like McKinley, a little bit
Yeah,
closer
yeah.
to the river.
Yeah.
So we don't have a name for this one, but not like cats come to their names anyway, so that doesn't matter. So missing since July 26th. Please call or text Julie at 916-501-9442. So you guys keep your eyes open for these kitties. They are out there, hopefully having the adventures of their lives, and also their owners miss them a lot. And if you've ever lost a cat or a dog, you know the deep, deep sadness and then the exhilaration of being reunited. So that's what I always hope for when I see these is.
How come Palsy has no pupils though?
I think the devil
Flash?
was somehow coming through. It was the flash. Yeah, you know how a cat's eyes like do that reflective thing.
Yeah.
Palsy's putting a spell on all of us right now. We're all in trouble.
I'm gonna take it off now. Palsy was like, But anyways, you find it. Yeah. So we are trying to find animals out there, and like I said, when we take walks, we take pictures of trying to help out any way we can. Right? Who knows what will happen out there, and someone
Right.
saw Palsy or the other kitty that lays around on the driveway.
You never
like it was.
know.
Yeah.
So keep your eyes open. If you guys ever have a lost animal, let us know. We can incorporate it into the show if you're in Sacramento.
Yes.
If you're not, you might not get the right airtime, but we'll still pray with you. So we are almost to 10 o'clock and we haven't even talked about our topic. So maybe we should talk about how to find your voice. What do you guys think?
Well, it seems like, yes, because I think you two are podcasters too, right? I'll just go real quick. I found my voice on here doing this. So this is where my voice was found especially during COVID, for sure, but during COVID. And, it came out of nothing. It came out of the air, it came out of my heart, and I'm here. I found it. I'm here. I would have never done it.
That begs the question. Finding your voice to me isn't necessarily just audibly or even written. Because I feel like, Ruben, your voice started before this. I know that you were talking about this kind of phase, but
Yeah.
you've been an artist for years. And I'm guessing maybe even just like your style and the way that you communicate in art is kind of a version of your voice too.
Yeah, it is, but I think, I think there is one difference that I shed my skin during COVID. How's that? I found my spot during COVID, and I think that and a lot of it's been rough. It's been going, but I also found my artistic spot. Even though when I was at working, and you're working, you're doing all this stuff, you don't have time to think about this stuff. But then, I had time to think about stuff, and I had time to think about my life. I had time to think about getting some spirituality under not control, but under like what I'm thinking about, and able to use that or exercise my things that I've learned in my life now. So I think that's what the difference is. Because I would have never said, "Oh, I'm going to be a host. I'm going to do this," But that just happened, and my love for technology, is is evident with myself too. But also, it just this time is giving me my chance to grow my hair out again,
Your
be an
blonde hair.
artist, and just say, when people say, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm an artist," and that's it. That's to me is measurable in so many different ways that I feel like that's how I am now. Back then, I mean, even like 6 months ago, I would say that my confidence level was not there, even though I knew I had to do some techniques that I've learned that had got me to a point of going back into my life and going back to my childhood, and connecting with that part and going, okay, you know what, you're going to be okay, and yeah, or you're going to be great. So
What do you think it was about the last 6 months that really helped you to shed your skin?
that nothing is, you never know what's going to happen in this world, right? You never know what's going to happen, and obviously we've seen this so many so many times during this period that at some point I was fluctuating. It was scary. It was scary in the very beginning. It was, no one knew what was going on. It was just so dark, and people got out of it, but then we got hit by other things, and and I finally stopped saying I'm doing okay for what's going on. I'm just at this point now, I'm doing okay. I'm good. I'm doing good, and I'll have to survive. And I have in my childhood, I survived a lot of things in my childhood, so this is not anything that I can't go through, and actually I can thrive through it. And so but it of course it came with a lot of like distress, and and anxiety, and looking toward the future. I can't predict the future. I have no control over it. And whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But we have to find at some point you have to find a route, and a battleground for yourself. Like, what are you going to do? How are you going to fight? Are you going to sit there and take it, or are you going to move ahead and try to find an intelligent way to combat everything that's going on around us? So I think that's kind of where I found my
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it really had to do with the fact that time stood still, and because time stood still, we would have never gone to this place. So I have to thank whatever forces. And I was talking to Chris earlier that I think that it's going to swing the other way, because nature does that. Nature does help out when it's time, and everything goes back to its kind of more balance. We're on a way different level right now, but it's got to swing. The pendulum's got to swing the other way around. It can't just keep going around. I know we don't know when it's going to happen, but I do believe that myself. So I'm very confident and very excited for what's going to come up, even if it's not is the way we see it. But I really do think that there's something good's going to happen soon. At least I have to believe that.
Well, I think the way that you just described that, like, kind of like we humans make meaning, we also make good. And I think because you're looking for it, you're likely going to find it.
Sorry, Cassandra. Hello, Cassandra.
Hi, Cassandra. So she said, Ruben.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I guess we don't need to read that one out loud. But I'm glad she loves the cocktail hour. Yay.
I think it's their first time. So.
And then Serge said, welcome, Cassandra. We're happy to have you.
Yes.
Serge said, you are thriving, Ruben. The distress shaped you as an artist.
Yeah.
And that is awesome, because it could have beaten you down. It could have made you say, I can't do my shows. I can't be in my studio. My income is on like the fritz, and that didn't happen. So I think you're actually kind of cool example of just like, when life gives you lemons, fuck it. Why not try and learn how to use StreamYard
Drake
and
Mescal.
make a show? And yeah, have some
Yeah.
guests.
Yeah, and so yeah, and I know that different people have different, obviously different struggles in their life, and I've always been one to minimize myself because everybody always had something worse, even when I was a kid, when going through all the shit that I was going through, I was like, well, they have it worse, Mike, but you know what, they had it really bad, so.
Yeah.
So, and everybody needs to give themselves that break of like, you're going through it. So it is okay to go through it, and it's okay to feel the way you feel because, you can't always compare yourself, and even the other way too. You get depressed because someone's doing better than you, or, you can't always compare yourself to everybody and to make yourself feel better or to make yourself feel worse. So,
You know what I think this kind of gets back to is, and I want to hear your answer to this in just a moment, Chris. You're next. But when you were first talking, Ruben, about how you've really been realizing how anxiety is not something to fight. It's something to sort of sit beside and ask, okay, where are we going? You're not driving, I'm driving, but like you can hang out. I'm not going to resist against you. And that's kind of what I'm hearing in terms of all of the kind of growth you've had in this phase is like, it could be just like screaming and kicking and no, this isn't supposed to be like this. But instead it's like, okay, this is how it is. And then what? And I think that act of, oh, actually the reason I brought that up was because I also heard, we talk about this a lot on the show, that empathy is not like pie, that you can have empathy for yourself and for people who have it way worse.
yeah.
You don't have to say, oh, I'm not allowed to be sad because this person lost their house in the fire. You can say, wow, that sucks, and really like feel that deeply. But we can't give empathy unless we have it for ourselves. We can't give love unless we have some for ourselves. All of these things are sort of dependent on not resisting the parts of ourselves that feel them too. So it's interesting, the intermingling of those feelings. So,
and I think that, like compassionate biting has helped me a lot too, because it allows me to pull in everybody's kind of, we're all in the same category and anxieties and everything else, and embrace it and love it. And then that's kind of the part of the meditation part. It's the Buddhist meditation part of opening your heart, bringing it in, even if it's everybody that's going through the same things, and then letting your heart hug it and love it, love the pain, whatever everybody else is going through, and then releasing it by giving it like almost like a sigh of relief, right? And then you just go, and then you do it again. You hold it in there, and you do it for yourself, and then you do it for the, for the whole world, too. So I think that helps me because being empathic, or empathic, right?
yeah.
But yeah, it makes me, like understand that I'm still holding the honor of everybody else that's having a horrible time out there, and so I'm just not, doing it one by one now. So if that makes sense, it relieves a lot of pressure off me. So
Chris, I would love to hear, I mean, I know we just talked about a lot of stuff, but if there was a point in your life that you feel like your voice became more defined, or something that helped you to really identify who you are apart from maybe who you thought you should be. So what's your story around finding your voice?
Wow. That's a great question, and it's unfortunately a very, very long answer, but
that's a
podcast.
podcast.
Go to episode 1.
I know. I'm gonna and yeah, I'll preface that by saying season 2, which I've started now, and I'm going to post the next episode tonight, so it comes out tomorrow. It's still My Life and Welcome to It, but the sub theme is Chasing After God, and it's my life's journey, where I talk about when I was doing Kundalini yoga and astrology and Zen meditation and Sufism, and I mean, just a lot of stuff. So there was a certain event where I changed my life 180 degrees. It was like, I felt like I was picked up, turned around, set down, and sent off again. But for me, finding your voice has many different meanings. As a singer, part of it was not being comfortable with the sound of my voice as I would sing with my voice coach. I had to get over that. I had to get comfortable with the sound of my own voice. And then in whatever, if I write something or if I do a podcast, it's coming to the point, finding my voice means to me realizing I've got something to say. And I've come across many people who, if you listen to them speak, they're very quiet. It's like there's almost a constriction in the throat. And finding your voice is learning how to, relax and really speak in your full voice. So, some people, sometimes I think to myself on a given topic, I don't have anything to say. Nothing that I'm going to say is important. But that's not always true. And I think that's my own self-defense mechanism kicking in to save me from myself and putting myself out there that could potentially receive criticism or ridicule, which is part of my programming as a child growing up. I got a lot of that. So if I put myself out there, I got criticized and ridiculed. And so I've learned this avoidance techniques, which is a self-preservation kind of a defense mechanism, to just convince myself that maybe it's just better if I just don't say anything. So I've had to push through that many, and still to this day, I don't know that I've actually come to a precise, clear-cut demarcation where before this line, I didn't find my voice, and after this line, I found my voice. I think I'm continually finding my voice more and more, and then finding a place for outlet. One's my podcast. One is I have two friends that I have phone calls with every week. One's on Wednesday, one's on Friday. And I think there's just whatever outlet is there, just being able to talk and finding that what I think no one may agree with at all, but it's still important to share. And then on the reciprocal side, it's important for me to listen and give value to that other person's voice.
You're such a cool dude. Honestly, I love the way your mind works, and
I've been to hell and back. I tell you,
I can tell.
Hell and back.
Honestly, I can tell, because I think that is often the reason that people have such a robust, maybe well of resources or tools themselves. And I think that is really cool. So Serge said, my life and welcome to it is an inspirational combo of words. Well done, Chris, and all the best with your podcast. Continue to find your voice in community.
Thank you, Serge. I really appreciate that.
This is awesome tonight. Thank you for the cheerleading, Serge. Now oh my gosh, it's so funny. I was going to say
pom-poms. He needs pom-poms.
Woo!
Virtual pom-poms.
Funky Chicken, you get an honorary PhD in wellness and restoration. And I will take that and I will run with it. Please refer to me as Dr. Chicken from now on, from henceforth.
I like Dr. Funky better.
I like Dr. Funky better too.
Okay, you know what? Sometimes my words just come out of my mouth without thinking. Let's go with Dr. Funky.
You're entitled.
Can we podcast edit that out then? Maybe we can use a podcast edit. Yeah.
Remix. Wait, this is where we go. Moo.
You could be Dr. Robert.
Dr. Robert Funky Chicken. But you guys, I'm so inspired by hearing, this is to me one of the coolest things about the show is that part of why I started my podcast too is I just wanted to have cool conversations. And that's why it's neat to do this every Friday night, is to get to hear things I haven't heard or things I have and I need to hear again. And I think I just heard.
Well, it's your turn now.
Okay, so here we go. Ready? Okay. I was never a cheerleader, so I'm not even going to try. Something that you just said, Chris, and I think that I'm going to reiterate it because I think it's important, is finding my voice has really just meant countering the part of me that has said, since I was socialized to think I wasn't good enough, like we all often are, finding my voice has meant countering the one that says, well, why would anyone want to hear from you? You're not a good writer. Don't look full of yourself. Like, your opinion matters. You're not good enough. Like, those voices that are just like, stay small, don't make waves, don't give anyone a reason to criticize you. Maybe just not even existing. Like, and as someone like myself, who's kind of a big personality, you might not think I have those voices, but I have them all the time. It's the whole reason I'm a coach and a writer. And like, the reason I'm where I'm at today is because it hasn't been easy. And like you, there was a moment where I started to just say, you know what? I've shared this kind of mantra before. I literally think this every time I sit down to write, when I sit down to record the podcast. It is possible that one person needs to hear what I have to say. So when my brain starts going and saying, oh, this is so stupid, don't send this newsletter, Melissa, then I'll just be like, you know what? Maybe 90 people will think it's stupid, but maybe one person needs to hear it. And what's cool, I don't need, let me say this, I shouldn't need this validation, but I'm a human. It's kind of nice. Sometimes I'll send something out, whether it's a podcast or a newsletter or whatever, and I'll just think, wow, that was total shit. Like, at least I wrote something, but that was so bad. Gosh. And then I'll have someone reach out to me or make a comment and say something like, wow, this really spoke to me. And thank you so much, because I just quit my job and I was feeling very, da 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 da. And it is nice to get those little Easter eggs of maybe one person needs to hear this. And who am I to say that my voice isn't good enough? Who am I, seriously, to deprive the world of who I was created to be? I do believe in God innately. That sounds very big, but it's like we all were created in this very unique way. So who are you, anyone listening, to say that your voice isn't good enough or your art isn't good enough? Fuck that. It is. And maybe just one person needs to hear it.
My art's not good enough?
Yours is.
That's insecurity. No, I think that's great. And I think like you said, there is, so what, you put it out there, and that one or two people that you really want to reach, I mean, they really need it, and they need to hear that voice. And maybe that voice is already inside them and they hear it and they echo it, or they understand it, or they need it. They just need to hear that, like you said, there is someone out there that is having these sort of like pains and
human experience.
Yeah, it's funny because I wrote a song the other day, and I was like, listen, I never write the words down. I just kind of improv on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about me when I was a kid, and I was like reaching out to God and say, hey, well, how can you make a kid go through this stuff? Like, who are you? You're supposed to be merciful, right? You're supposed to be this person, like, you're supposed to save me, and you never came, right? That was the Chris of the song, like, you never came to save me. And even though I prayed, I did everything I could, and no one ever came to save me except for myself. Right. But then the end of the song, by the time I got to the end, it's like, thank you for giving me these life lessons, because I wouldn't be who I am now. Like, I couldn't change. I couldn't say that I would be like the same person if I didn't go through the same things I had to go through. And like my mom died when I was born. So I didn't have any kind of understanding of like what her personality was, right? So and it's just strange, like like you said, and that one person, like that's what I want to be now. Like I think that's why I resonate with kids, because I understand what they're going through, and I understand like the hurt, because I feel it, I know what it is, and that fact that no one reaches out to anybody, or just in generalize with adults. And I just listen to people. I listen to what they say, and I try to find out out of one conversation that I have with everybody, when they are hurting, and I'll call them up, is that one sentence. I need to find that one sentence that I can really see what they're trying to say out of all that, and I think that's something that when you write something, because Melissa, you guys are really beautiful people, by the way, and when you guys write, I can know it comes from your heart, and I think that's all you really can do. And, fuck everybody else. You'll reach those two people, that one person that really needs help, that needs a lifeline. And that lifeline, it might be 3 words. It might be like, hey, you're out there, we love you, and that's all you know what I mean? Like, people need to know they're loved.
Yeah.
And even if it's from a stranger, even if it's from anything else. So, and I said, that's what I believe. I believe that's, that kind of lifeline, and that kind of like understanding what, like what your life is different from my life, but we're all kind of, we all suffer in a way that we have to find this road and this way to get out of that. So, so we're maybe at the end of our lives, we're like, yes, we did it, and we're here.
One of the things that I've appreciated about the show
is
all the people that tune in. That's an old TV thing. Used to tune in to the TV show, right? But who take the time to not only listen, but to participate. And it's always encouraging. There's always a this virtual feeling of love and gratitude for life and for each other, and a willingness for many people to be vulnerable and self-revealing, which I appreciate a lot because I know how hard it is to do. So that's why I stick around, because to me, this is real stuff. A lot of things in life aren't. I do this. I get my eyes leak. Occasionally, my eyes leak, and I don't know what causes it.
Emotion.
I've tried to use super glue on my eyelids to keep my eyes from leaking.
I think it's called estrogen.
Oh, I think it's called humanity.
That could explain a lot of things then. If it's
That's me. That's me. I think I have high dosage of.
But honestly, I completely agree. It's so moving. That's like such an honor to have people not just watch or tune in, but to actually share. We've had some really honest from yourself, from other people, some really honest comments where we don't always have answers and we're not supposed to. It's just a cool, very safe. This is a really safe place for all of us to share space. And
and I think people do. Yeah, I think people do. So, and Sir says,
he says, Morrissey's saying, sing your life. Any fool can think of words that rhyme. Many others do. Gosh, I wish I knew the song. I would sing it. Why don't you? Do you want to? Oh, sing your life. Sing your life, sing your life, sing your life. That's not that song, but
I'm gonna write that down so I can Google it later. I want to listen to it.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I did not do that justice.
From Heather, Hi, Heather from Washington.
I was gonna say Heather's up in Washington, right?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Heather. Great to see you, hear you again. Maybe you inspire someone to write or speak find their voice, or feel safe. Yes. Okay, so when I was younger, I have gone through a couple bouts of depression. And in one of them, I remember just like I couldn't stop just like laying on the bed, eating Wheat Thins and watching really cheesy TV. And it's funny now, but then it was just the darkness was just on me. And I remember thinking, you know what I think would be a really good commercial is if Einstein or I don't know, Sally Ride, or like insert kind of a cool historical accomplished figure. What if they had just sat on the couch and never gone in like E = MC squared, or I'm going to be an astronaut? What if they had just sat on their asses and never done anything? What if they never created art or academics or poetry? And I thought, wow, that would get me off my ass, because like, what if I have that in me too, but I can't move? And now I know that, depression is something that you can't move a lot of the time. It's not a moral dilemma. It's more of like a sickness almost. But I guess I bring that up because I also, bear with me, I don't think we all need to be so special and so unique and so famous and so reaching millions of people to be important. And I did back then. That was part of why I was depressed, is I was realizing I'm not going to be president. Oh my God. I'm not going to be, I don't know, accepting an Academy Award, so I must not matter. And realizing I'm tying this into the ordinary is extraordinary. The connection that happens in just sharing of humanity, sharing your story, whether it's one person or a million people, it all matters. And this whole fucking planet is going to explode someday because the sun's going to explode. It's not going to matter how many Instagram followers you had.
It's not?
Well, maybe. I don't know how they're going to weigh like the relocation
that's
of
gonna
atoms.
But you know what's interesting too about when Chris says, you talk about writing your story or telling your story, someone's going to want to hear your story. Someone in your family is going to want to hear your story, right?
Yeah,
because
someday,
the generation before us and for them was always like, suck it up. No,
right.
Grandma never told her story, and then, Grandma had a fantastic story, which I'm going through a lot right now because of epigenetics, and I'm actually really looking into my family right now, and Melissa turned me on to that in that way, but I'm able to use that as an opening, and I wish these people who thought they were just ordinary people would have wrote their stories, and I think we all should write our stories down. And it's just like people who I just painted this, but I'm not an artist. No, you are an artist. You mean, and just do it, because that's such another therapeutic thing you can do is write. I remember when I was like not feeling depressed in the worst way, I saved myself because I wrote what the conclusion was to my depression, and it wasn't a good thing, but I saw it and I realized that was the power of the pen, right? The
Hmm.
power of actually not being in my head, but writing it down and looking at it and go, oh shit, you need help, you know, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and I think that people have all this stuff in their head, and and they do, and you write it. It's like my little list thing that I'm doing, right? I have
Right.
all this stuff in my head flowing around, but I'm able to write a little list that's, it's not the most organized list, but I just, even if it's, she said, in this thing, she's like, write down you're gonna have coffee, and I'm like, okay, so I start checking it off, right? Coffee, anything, to get yourself going, and you find out like what you want, and I think for me sometimes I fail to realize the power of telling your story, the power of doing artwork, just being creative. Like, it doesn't matter, like cooking and everything. It's like you just got to be in that moment, because that's what it does. It takes you there, And like I said,
Mm.
you two, have beautiful stories, and I know that. So I would, keep going, and like just like me, someone will give a shit about me, but I'm cool with that. I'm just gonna
We
keep
give a
going.
shit.
Yeah. No, I'm saying, yeah, I'm searching for, some compliments here.
You're fishing
Anybody
for
out
a
there? Yes.
someone tell me that
No,
matters.
but everybody out there, like really, you have it in you. You just have to stop telling yourself you can't do it, because you can, and that's what you should, like you said, write it down. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to do, and like Melissa writes some beautiful stuff. Chris has a great podcast. And I think there's a lot of people out there that have, even watching this, like I said, people that coming here, right? Um, so, you want to read that one?
Ashley said, I just recently started journaling. It started off for Samaya, but it's also for me. And Samaya's her daughter. I agree that it's so important for our family to know who we are and share our history. Even the mundane can be a beautiful memory or moment. I think that's such a
Yeah,
good point, that
Yeah.
even the mundane moments, like,
those
oh
most,
gosh, what I would give to
yeah,
hear what my mom, what the things she encountered with
right.
a small child, because it was just like, oh, what a cool thing to share across time,
But
and
the
how
most,
awesome for your
yeah,
daughter.
and the most mundane moments are the most beautiful moments, right? Because they're ones that you don't think that they're they have anything to do with anything, but then you look back and you're like, damn, I wish I would have really enjoyed that moment, like COVID right now, like. Dang, I wish I would enjoy the moment when I can hug my friend and not even worry about it, right? And that would be a
Yeah.
mundane thing, right? And like all this stuff that we're realizing were mundane things are really beautiful events that that saying hi to somebody, or like having a conversation with someone, a stranger you're walking by, and those are all strange now, So,
So
Yeah.
I'll throw a thought. So for me, it's finding the sacred in every moment.
yeah,
Mm, I love that.
want to read that
Because
one?
Finding
it's
the
there.
sacred
It's
in every
always
moment.
there. It's always there. But we just
That's
don't see it. And we don't,
Yeah,
I'm not paying attention, or my personal interpretation of it is askew.
yeah.
Um, but it's there. I
And
believe
really,
it.
as we, so Zach said, saying you need help doesn't make you weak. And I do
Oh,
think that's actually an important thing to pepper in here.
yeah.
'Cause I think that's one of those things that is slowly coming into question in our culture, that it did used to kind of be a stigma. I remember
yeah,
even as a child, like my friend needing therapy and her mom being worried that it would haunt her for the rest of her life if she went to therapy. She was worried about her future. And it's like, no, at this point, saying you need help. And something I wanted to go back to is that as we talk about finding your voice, it does not have to be even in an artistic or like an outward
no,
facing medium. Because I
no,
love that Chris was talking about, you have a conversation with friends twice a week, that you
Mhm.
have decided like, it matters that I talk to these people. My voice matters. That is actually really big, I think, vacancy for a lot of people, and point to just settle on a little bit. Like, finding our voice can just mean knowing, maybe even though I'm kind of in a blah mood, maybe this person would still like to talk to me, and calling anyway.
Yeah. Or
So
just smiling at someone. You never know. If someone's had a bad day, you're in the checkout line at the store or whatever, cashiers maybe they've had a bad day, and you
that's
smile at them and you wish them a good day, and all of a sudden you are a spark of light in their otherwise maybe dreary day, and who knows what kind of effect that has on a person. It doesn't even have to be a lot of words. Just be our attitude and behavior.
yeah, yeah, totally. I think we've all been that person too, right? Where
Yeah,
there's just been a
absolutely.
moment where suddenly it's like, oh, maybe everyone doesn't suck. That person was really kind, or there's a little bit of hope, or, you know,
See,
Yeah.
I try doing that now, but I'm like, I'm smiling under this mask right now. So, I'm like, look
I
it.
saw this thing
I'm
that was
so
like,
then I get angry and I start yelling at him. I'm really smiling at you right now, okay?
So you practice smiling with your eyes.
Well, I figure I'm gonna make a smile on my mask too. So,
But
oh, that's a great idea.
when you smile, these muscles pull up, and people can tell. I know when I smile, people know I'm smiling because that's the response I get back. And you just, stand in front of a mirror and practice smiling.
That's really all I do all day, stand in front of the mirror and go.
That's what it's part of that narcissistic personality.
It is. We recognize each other when we see each other. Hey.
Except now I look in the mirror and I see my father.
Oh, wow. You know
That
what's funny is
scares
I see
the
my
Jesus
mom,
out of me.
right? You get older and you start to see your family members. But
Yeah,
I'm
the
going
family
to echo
resemblance. Yeah.
I'm going to echo Ruben and say I think it's so cool that you're writing stuff down, whether your kids are interested now or not. I know that I got far more interested after I didn't have the option of asking any questions.
Sure.
So having that somewhere for your kids is amazing.
They can always go back to it when they have a time. Yeah. And interest.
and sometimes they'll be interested.
Yeah.
Like I have half my family that's interested in Mexico. The other half is like, okay, I'm an American now. I don't need to be there.
You got me interested in Mexico. I want to.
You know what I mean? But like, there's.
So here one of the cool things that I learned from you is how to pronounce Oaxaca properly, because I saw it written, and I'm like, how in the world is that pronounced?
What did you used to say?
I couldn't. I didn't.
Did you say Oaxaca? Because I said Oaxaca.
It's Oaxacan or something. I don't know.
That's even better.
I kept telling Melissa, that's so Anglo of you, Melissa. Remember that?
So Anglo of you.
That was my PC time.
That's a kind way to say that.
Search something for you too.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Serge. There's a hair coming out. So for y'all's pondering, here's Sing Your Life by Morrissey. This song transformed me like an Autobot in my teens. New wave music helped me listening to and following my inner voice. Nice. And he posted a link. So we will have to go check that out later. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's funny because it actually kind of leads into the questions. Remember, I have my rapid fire questions I like to ask our guests now.
Here it is, Chris. Here it goes.
So,
I've been practicing those all week.
No, you're not supposed to know that.
No, I don't even remember what they are.
Well, luckily, I lost my copy again, so I had to retype them.
Yeah.
And I added some new ones in there. So if you're ready, we're going to go through and do some rapid fire.
But you found them?
Yes. I typed them up before the show.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. Okay, but some of them are the same. Okay, I want you to go to your most honest and calm place. Let me ask you this question. You're called to be brave, but the fear is right there and very real. What is the first thing you do?
I step into it.
Simple.
I've been in those situations before, and I take action. I just step right into whatever's going on.
Just jump off the diving board.
And the fear goes away. It's the most amazing thing. I don't know whether I'm suppressing it or just compartmentalizing it, but when I step into a scary situation, I try to avoid scary situations. But when I step in, when I find them, I try to, that's my first thing is to step in.
Hey, that's what you did tonight. You were nervous and you just were like, hey, I'm a little bit nervous being here.
I was so terrified. So here's the deal. I don't have internet. I use my phone as a hotspot usually. Before tonight, I wanted to make sure I had a solid connection. So I paid for 2 hours of Wi-Fi.
Nice.
But I started at 7 because I forgot when the show started.
No.
I was so nervous. So
what really good connection before the show.
That's why. So what happened was when my 2 hours were up, the connection broke. I had to go back there and buy another hour so I could rejoin y'all. That's what happened. But I was so freaking nervous. I couldn't remember. Well, I have trouble knowing what time it is anyway right now.
It's a weird time.
Yeah.
I also just kind of love that you cared that much. Like that means a lot to us that you like literally invested in trying to make sure that you were able to stay in the show. So
I find value in the show.
Yeah. Well, we find value in you. So
well, thank you.
Oh, great. All now so we can do our $20 a day subscription now.
Oh yeah. Find us on Patreon. We're going to need to fund our Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi fund our Wi-Fi fund. Yes.
Checks in the mail.
Okay. Next question for you, Chris. You ready? Vulnerability is
Scary.
Mm. What is on your nightstand right now?
I don't have a nightstand.
What's next to your bed?
I don't have a bed. I'm gonna be
What's
real
next?
honest with you. I sleep on the
Wait,
floor.
you do?
I do.
What's next to your floor?
What's next to my floor?
Yes.
Um. Oh wait, I do have a nightstand, but it's dismantled right now. I had a bunch of stuff on it. Um.
What do you
I
have next to the place that you sleep? Because we're trying to figure out, is there like a book that you set down? Is it like your watch?
no,
Is it
I try not to read before I go to sleep. Um. One of the things, so there's a little glass table right next to where I sleep, and one of the things that's on it is a silver cup. It's about maybe this tall. It was given to me by my uncle when I was born, so it was a birth present, and it's engraved and it has a crown and it says Prince.
oh.
Yep, I still
Now,
have
why
it.
do you keep that by your bed? What is is it like a significant?
Well, yeah, because it reminds me of what my uncle thought of me as an infant, but then it reminds me of who I really am. That
Mm.
although I may not be bloodline royalty, at least to one person I was a prince, and so I should be a prince. I should be. I shouldn't shit on myself, but in my mind, I think of myself as I'm a prince,
Oh my
right?
gosh, I love that. Can we all just borrow that for a second? At one point when we were born, most of us, God willing, had at least one person who was like, wow, what an incredibly perfect, capable, everything is right about this human, prince, or whatever the word was. And to be able to behold yourself in those eyes, I
Hmm.
get why you keep that by your bed, because that's a really beautiful thing to recall. Okay, favorite meal. What is your favorite meal?
Define meal.
You're making things very
Food.
complicated.
Yes.
I'm a
Food.
complicated guy.
Thanks, Ruben. Food.
Food.
It's
Food.
let's say you're gonna have
My
dinner.
favorite?
Yeah.
Something I don't have to prepare.
So I
Perfect.
say, all right, Chris, dinner is on us. We're sending you a meal tomorrow
Cool.
night. Whatever you want. What is it?
Whatever you send me.
Really?
Yeah, I
What
don't
if we
care. I
send
mean,
you like
I honestly don't have a favorite meal.
interesting?
You know,
You're
most of the time when someone says, "Hey, where," if like back before the lockdown, I'd go out to dinner with friends and they'd say, "Okay, so what do you want?" And I'm like,
pick something.
"I don't know. Why don't you pick something? Where do you want to go? Go to your favorite restaurant." Oh, I don't
Were you
care.
always like that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay,
Like even with my
cool.
folks, I just never had, for when my kids were growing up, Chuck E. Cheese was a nice big place and they loved going to Chuck E. Cheese.
Hmm.
But I never had a place where I was just jonesing to go. And
Attachment. Maybe
yeah,
it's because of all your
I've
study of,
never had that relationship with food ever.
Hmm.
well, that's, have you ever had weight issues?
No.
Well, there you go. Maybe I shouldn't be so attached to food then.
I
Never
also, and
thought about that.
I don't know if this is a question or not, but I also don't do desserts.
Well, that isn't a question this week, but that's good to know.
Yeah, I don't. I mean,
Oh, good.
yeah, when I remember when Thanksgiving dinner and go over to people's house, there's all this food. I would stock up and fill myself with the main meal stuff, mashed potatoes and turkey and vegetables. And I would just bypass the dessert phase. I just wasn't
Yeah.
interested.
So you eat just for like nutrition,
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
like sustenance.
Yeah, yeah, I
You're like,
guess
well, I do enjoy
it keeps me
some
alive.
sodium.
If I don't eat for extended periods of time, I die. So that's not an option.
Very true. Okay. I'm just like very interested in your answers. Okay. Next question for you, Chris. The last TV show that you binged and loved,
TV show?
or just show, the last
Well,
show that you binged and loved.
I'm binging on one right now, and it's a Danish TV show. That's my heritage. My great grandparents came to North America from Denmark, entered into
Mm,
Canada, and then entered into Minnesota, which is where my grandfather and my father were born. Um, I love international shows and I love subtitles. So it's a Danish show where um, a woman becomes the Prime Minister of Denmark
Nice.
but not because she was voted in. It was a set of circumstances that threw her into it. And so it's about her and her family. She's got 2 young children. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying it a lot.
I love it. Very unconventional. The Danish subtitles. Okay, next question. A concert that will always stick with you.
Oh, there are so many. My first Grateful Dead show, which isn't sticking with me because I was in an altered state of consciousness for most of it, so I don't remember it at all. But the fact that I don't remember it sticks with me. However, one of the shows that really sticks with me was my daughter's birthday. She was in middle school, and she wanted to go see Cake. Cake was going to play at the Memorial Auditorium, and I was friends with
Going the distance.
the band, and I got tickets from the bass player.
Wow.
And I took my daughter and her friends to go see Cake.
Oh.
I will never forget that. Yeah, that one
Was
sticks.
it because you got to like show her this really cool night out? Was it the
No,
show
it's
itself?
what she wanted to do, and I wanted to give that to her.
I love that. Okay, next question. What was your favorite age so far and why?
This is the one I'm at right now because it's full of adventure. I have no idea what tomorrow is going to bring. I already know what I did in those other ages. I have no idea what I'm going to do in this one. So it's my favorite.
Love it. I love it. What is a book that you think everyone should read?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's really interesting you should ask because there's a book that's been on my mind a lot lately. It's going to be part of my next episode that I'm going to record. And it's called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. It was a book that played a major role in my life. He's a psychologist, and he talks a lot about suffering, and it's where I was first exposed to the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha and the Eightfold Path. And it started me on a road of transformation that I had no idea I was going to be on. But it's a powerful, powerful book. And M. Scott Peck, he wrote another book called The Children of, what's it called? Children of the Lie. It's called People of the Lie. M. Scott Peck was a psychologist that interviewed Commander Cali after the My Lai massacre. He's a brilliant man, and for me, that was a powerful book. And I have no hesitation in recommending that to people.
I just wrote it down. The Road Less Traveled, especially because it's by a psychologist.
Let me go back to the question before. Ruben and I were neighbors with John McCrae back in the day in Midtown.
Oh, hey, Cherise. Oh, I know Cherise.
I know. Hi, Cherise.
I got loaded with those guys occasionally.
I got loaded with Cherise. So yeah, we always did. Cherise is a great person. Yeah, she's awesome. Really great. Nice good people. Yes.
Well, thanks for taking us back to that memory.
Did we smoke a lot of weed, Cherise, back in the day? I think we did.
I think it was probably crack that you guys smoked, but Cherise, fill us in.
Which explains the hair completely.
That's me.
It does. It grows a certain way when you're smoking.
I was always a green wearer. Yeah. I was about the green stuff. That's about.
All right. Next question. Enough about crack. An ordinary moment in your life that you find gratifying, that you make special. It's funny because earlier you were saying find the sacred in everything, but what's like an ordinary moment in your day that you especially enjoy?
Making coffee in the morning after I first wake up. To me, that is pleasurable.
So it's not drinking it, it's making it.
It's making it. No, it's the whole process. Yeah. Now drinking it, of course, is icing on the cake. But I don't do desserts, so I'm not sure where that came from. But yeah, it's the whole process. It's like I wake up in the morning and I make a beeline to the kitchen and start making coffee.
I love that. Okay, last question. What are you deeply grateful for right now?
Right this second?
Yeah.
You guys.
Yay! I was fishing for that.
I know.
I
You're
think that
you're a
was. I
little on
think
the
that was a.
little on the
That,
insecure side, are you?
yeah, chickens
Does
aren't always
any
secure, so they're not the
Are
most
you
secure.
maybe grateful for a chicken and a crow right now? I'm kidding. So
That's right.
thank you for being grateful for us. I will take that in earnest. We are also grateful for you joining us and sharing so honestly. And I feel calmer after tonight's show. I feel like I came kind of like, blah, 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 bark, 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 bark.
Well,
And now
cool.
I'm like, gobble, gobble, gobble.
Yeah.
More of a turkey.
I am
Yeah.
I am sort of jonesing though for some Kentucky Fried. I don't know why it is, but
Well,
Chicken.
I'm vegan, so I don't know what that feels like.
I've never
Speaking of
had,
vegan,
I've never had fried crow, but I've had
Shouldn't.
fried chicken.
You shouldn't.
there's a
Crows
first.
don't like that. They'll come
Yeah.
after you. They don't mess around.
Well, they probably peck my eyes out. They would.
Hold on. Charisse, I fell asleep in the bushes in front of Ruben's house playing hide and seek as
Oh,
kids.
Lord have mercy.
Zach, you're supposed to not tell
Oh.
anybody.
So nobody
Oh.
found him. He was hiding and nobody found him. He's like, I'm
Yeah,
still there.
just-
I just got an iPhone.
that's right. What am I doing here? No.
What year is this? Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was so
Oh.
nice to get to talk to you live and hear a little bit more about your outlook and the fact that you sleep on the floor. I'm just fascinated by all of you. So thank you for sharing with us.
Part of it is to be in solidarity with the homeless population because they sleep on the floor all the time. And it's usually the sidewalk or some other spot. It's rarely in a bed. So that's part of the reason why I do that.
Is that a population or a cause close to your heart? Is that something that you...
It is, and that's a whole nother story. It has a lot to do with the job that I held for the last 10 years before I retired. And so, yeah, there's a lot of just emotion around homelessness and affordable and accessible housing. I think everyone has a right to that, regardless of who they are or the situation of life they find themselves in. If a person wants a roof over their head, they should be able to get one.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful place for us to pause and maybe end, is just recognizing the inequality. I mean, there's so much of that in our world, but in our town, we all live in Sacramento, and that is definitely something that is a when we're more out in the world, an evident injustice. And so it's really moving that is something that is close to your heart. And and hopefully, with those feelings of caring and wanting to change, we are able to ultimately, I just think it's important to recognize that people without homes are not like indigent, unrecognizable, so much different than us. Like they're people who had a different set of dealt a different hand in life. And
I think there's more between us that's similar than there is that's different. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming out, Chris.
Oh, it was my honor completely.
Yeah,
I'm totally honored that I was
I didn't get the gotcha. Like I did smell the blood in the water, but I was like,
you got time. I mean, I
became more of a tuna than a shark. So,
thanks, Ruben.
All right, Charlie.
Being nice.
Yeah. I had to chill out, so, but we like to,
come back for you.
Yeah, well, we like to thank you for coming out, and we'd like to thank everybody for coming to Cali Cocktail Hour on Fridays. Next week, do we have the guests yet next week, or was Crystal, did she?
We have not had a confirmation, so we'll get back.
Well, we'll have a confirmation. We'll be back here next Friday with different subject, same feelings, same everything else. Tomorrow night, come and see an art show, art exhibition, and Dia de los Muertos. How I gotta say how we Mexicans celebrate life and death. Yes. As our tradition, that we celebrate them. Different tradition for everyone, but this is obviously a Mexican tradition that that we celebrate. And
what time is the show at, Ruben?
Show it to 8:00 on here, same channel. Yeah. And I say that because I do believe that that it should be extended to everybody in this kind of tradition, and keeping people that are so important to us that passed away still alive in our hearts, and making altars and making things that we remember them by, even if they weren't that great. Maybe they gave you a little bit of something to to live by, even if it was like, I don't want to be like that person too. But
Yeah.
but and a lot of people in our generation before had it rough. They really did. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't necessarily their fault. They couldn't express their feelings, right? It wasn't. That's just the way it was back then. And so, I do, give a little bit of leeway for that too. So for myself, I've had many people pass away. I'm like, I really wanted to say something to them, and I just like, they're just old and they're on their deathbed. There's no need. I'm not going to get what I'm searching for, forgiveness or whatever that may be. So, but anyways, so this is a show for tomorrow night, and it's a special show for because we're coming into the Dia de los Muertos, October, and All Souls Day and everything else that we are interconnected with. So, but we'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and thanks, Chris, for
thank you.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you everyone that joined us virtually. It's always nice to share this space with you and these hours, and come back next week. We'll see you same time, 9:00.
Yeah, and this is the time when we say our goodbyes and play the last song for the people out there, I think.
For the people.
Yes. This song is called It Will Be Fine in the End.
Night.
It's our sensitive song. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Chris. Good night, Melissa. Funky Chicken.
Good night, guys.
See you. Good night, Chris.
Good night, Ruben.
By the sea, at the edge of the water, the coming waves.
Good night, Serge.
Kiss my feet. The touch from the warm wind that's blowing reminded me of you. I don't know for how long I can carry on, accepting that everything's alright, and that it will be fine. In the
Good night, Heather. Good night, Zach. Good night, everybody. Cali Cocktail Hour, we are out. Thank you so much for coming. Sorry, my headphones are back this way. See you next Friday, and see you tomorrow night. Good night, Chris.
the